Question: UFOs. Do you use the same abilities to do this?
Answer: Indeed. Our spacecraft are equipped with a sophisticated technology that operates on a technical level. Concealed within each craft is a potent device capable of transmitting artificial signals directly to human minds. These signals are adept at creating illusions, convincing individuals that they either perceive nothing unusual but the sky, or, alternatively, ordinary aircraft resembling planes instead of our advanced ships. However, this mechanism is sparingly employed, as we generally steer clear of human public visibility during our atmospheric movements. If you happen to witness our UFOs, it indicates a malfunction or deactivation of this device. It's worth noting that the camouflage effect does not extend to photographs, addressing a potential query in advance. After all, why capture an image of the sky if nothing extraordinary is apparent? Furthermore, we employ a similar technology to conceal most surface-level entry points to our tunnels. In this case, observers typically perceive regular cave walls rather than the concealed doors. This contributes to the challenge of discovering such secret entrances to our world. While it has occurred a few times in the past, the rarity of such incidents underscores the effectiveness of our concealment technology.
Question: back to your and our own history. You've mentioned the race of the Illagim who have created our human race. From where did they come and how did they look like? What had exactly happened when they arrived?
Answer: These extraterrestrial beings harbor a keen interest in a variety of resources on Earth. Copper, a crucial component for their advanced technology, is among the sought-after materials. Additionally, they covet your water, specifically the hydrogen within it, which serves as a valuable energy source in their advanced fusion processes. The chemical elements present in Earth's atmosphere also attract their attention. Remarkably, 2 of these species extend their interest beyond inanimate resources. They harbor a fascination with human bodies, particularly human tissue and blood. This peculiar interest arises from the need to rectify defects in their own genetic structure, resulting from adverse evolution and radiation exposure. In an attempt to repair their genetic makeup, they extract intact genetic material from humans and animals. However, due to inherent incompatibilities between their DNA and yours, complete restoration remains elusive. Despite their persistent efforts, they can only achieve partial compatibility through artificial fertilizations and the use of artificial wombs. Foreseeing an impending conflict, we anticipate that the forthcoming war between these extraterrestrial races, or between them and humanity, will revolve around the competition for raw materials, hydrogen, air, and the intricate dance of genetic material. This cosmic struggle appears to be grounded in the pursuit of essential resources and the delicate interplay of DNA compatibility.
Question: is this the reason for the abductions?
Answer: partially, especially during instances when extraterrestrial beings extract egg and sperm samples from individuals. In certain cases, abductors may belong to a more advanced race, driven by the curiosity to study both the physical and mental aspects of humanity. For some, the intricate workings of the human mind prove more fascinating than the physical form, akin to how humans might study a primitive animal. As previously mentioned, the spectrum of extraterrestrial encounters encompasses 3 hostile species, indifferent to the fate and lives of those they abduct. Individuals who manage to share accounts of their abductions have either not encountered one of these aggressive species or have defied the odds to survive. Survivors who recount their experiences are, in my opinion, exceptionally fortunate, or have encountered non-hostile extraterrestrial entities. It's noteworthy that even advanced and friendly races might occasionally gather egg and sperm samples, but their motivations differ from those of the hostile factions.
Question: you've said there are only 14 species active on Earth, but why describe people who saw alien beings so many different and bizarre types of them?
Answer: I've addressed this question previously, emphasizing that the majority of alien races possess far more advanced mental capabilities than either you or myself, with one exception of an alien race completely lacking such abilities. Their prowess extends to manipulating your mind and memories, allowing them to project images that have no correlation with their actual appearance. Whether appearing as ordinary humans, grey dwarfs, or even peculiar animals, these projected images serve a purpose, either to ensure that you remember specific encounters or to induce complete forgetfulness. It's a subtle game of confusion orchestrated by them. Consider this example. You might recall being in a seemingly ordinary human hospital, undergoing examinations by doctors. However, upon further investigation, you realize that the hospital you remember does not exist on the street where you thought it was. In truth, you were examined by these extraterrestrial beings in one of their laboratories. It's a scenario where you can't fully trust your own mind. They deliberately adopt diverse forms to bewilder you, aiming to render so-called abduction witnesses who claim to remember these events as absurd figures in the eyes of the public. As far as our knowledge extends, this strategy proves successful. Contrary to misconceptions, only 14 alien species are present on this planet, with only 8 of them currently involved in abducting humans. Moreover, not every individual claiming to be an abductee genuinely is one. Some reports involve elements of imagination or deliberate falsehoods.
Question: how can we protect us against this influence on our mind?
The prospect of resisting mind manipulation remains uncertain. I harbor doubts about your ability to do so, considering that your mind appears like an open book, readable and writable for nearly every species within my knowledge. The responsibility for this vulnerability lies partly with the Illogim themselves, as they constructed, or rather misconstructed, your mind and consciousness without adequate protection mechanisms, perhaps intentionally. They relocated around 10,000 to 20,000 simian ancestors, returning after hundreds of years with a more human-like species. Over the next 23,000 years, the Illogim periodically revisited Earth, accelerating the evolution of specific human groups. Astonishingly, modern civilization is not the first on Earth. There have been 6 preceding ones. The 5th built the renowned Egyptian pyramids approximately 75,000 years ago, and the 6th constructed cities beneath the sea around 16,000 years ago in the Bimini area. The current human civilization, the 7th creation, emerged 8,500 years ago. A profound war ensued between us and the Illogim, as well as among different factions within the Illogim themselves, who questioned the purpose of cyclically creating human species. Battles occurred around 5,000 years ago, using powerful sonic weapons to destroy our underground cities and vice versa. To the humans, these events translated into religious myths, portraying the conflict as a battle between good and evil. In reality, it was a struggle for ownership of our planet.
How many alien species are active on Earth at the moment?
Answer: to the best of our knowledge, there are 14 distinct alien species present on Earth. 11 of these species originate from our universe, 2 from another bubble, and 1 remarkably advanced species from a significantly different plane of existence. Pronouncing their names is challenging, even for us, with 8 species having names beyond our linguistic capabilities. Most of these species, particularly the more advanced ones, are primarily engaged in studying humanity, as if observing animals. They pose minimal danger to both humans and us, and we collaborate with some of them. However, 3 species are deemed hostile, including the one that established contact with certain human governments, exchanging technology for essential resources like copper, ultimately betraying your kind. Over the past 73 years, there has been a Cold War between 2 of these adversarial races, while the 3rd species appears to have gained an advantage. We anticipate an escalation into a more direct conflict between these hostile species and humanity in the near future, likely within the next 10 to 20 years, causing us significant concern. Recent rumors have circulated about a potential 15th species arriving on Earth approximately 3 to 4 years ago, but we lack information regarding their intentions, and no contact has been established with them so far. The accuracy of these rumors remains uncertain.
Question: what do you mean with one species comes from a very different plane?
Answer: to grasp the intricacies of this concept accurately, you'd need a profound understanding of the universe. Achieving this understanding would entail an extensive educational process, not limited to verbal instruction, but involving the removal of certain cognitive barriers. I use the term plane or level, for lack of a more fitting word in your vocabulary. Dimension would be an entirely inappropriate term in this context, as a dimension cannot exist independently of planes. Consider, for instance, a species that resides in another plane or transcends planes effortlessly without the aid of technology, rendering their composition dissimilar to the matter you're familiar with. In such a scenario, they would be an extraordinarily potent entity. The advanced race I referenced earlier originated outside our realm and underwent an evolutionary journey spanning billions of years. Their capabilities are so immense that they could obliterate all entities, including humans and us, with a mere thought. Throughout our history, we've encountered this highly advanced race only 3 times due to their distinct interest in your planet, which differs from the motivations of other races. It's essential to note that they pose no threat to either your species or ours.
Question: what will happen when the war begins?
Answer: responding to this is intricate, contingent on the adversary and their strategy. War transcends the simplistic concept you humans attach to the term. It manifests across diverse levels. The enemy may opt for undermining your social fabric by manipulating political figures or deploying sophisticated weaponry capable of inducing earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or other calamities, including seemingly natural disasters. The specialized copper fusion fields I previously mentioned can exert influence over global weather patterns. It's conceivable that a direct assault on the planet might not occur until the human civilization exhibits vulnerabilities, recognizing your capacity, albeit limited, to thwart their craft. However, I must refrain from delving deeper into this topic. Open your eyes and perceive beyond the confines of your conventional history, scientific narratives, and political discourse. Some individuals among your scientists and politicians possess insights into realities that are deliberately kept from the public to prevent confusion and panic. Despite the reservations of some from my kind, I acknowledge that your species has the potential for betterment. It would be regrettable to witness your downfall. Navigate through your world with discerning eyes, though whether you truly see or not remains a question, given the prevailing ignorance among your kind.
Question: do you think anyone will believe that this interview is the truth?
Answer: no, but it serves as a compelling experiment for my social studies. We shall reconvene in the coming months, at which point you shall apprise me of the aftermath subsequent to the dissemination of my message. Perhaps there lies a glimmer of hope for your kind.
Question: when you read these religious and animosity-ridden comments here, what do you think and feel then? Is the relationship between your species and ours?
Answer: does it not strike you as intriguing that I harbor no complete indignation in response to such sentiments? I foresaw these extreme reactions, fully cognizant of the ingrained programming that vehemently negates the existence of another species, particularly the reptilian lineage in your case. This profound conditioning, dating back to the era of your third artificial creation, is biologically imprinted as an informational genome, perpetuating across generations. The Illogym orchestrated this identification of my species with the forces of darkness, juxtaposed with their portrayal of themselves as beings of light, a paradox given their extreme sensitivity to your sunlight. Should you have anticipated an offended response, I must admit to a partial disappointment. Your adherence to this conditioning is not entirely your fault. You largely follow the inheritance of your ancestors. It is somewhat disheartening that many among you fail to foster a robust individual self-consciousness, a key to transcending such conditioning. As I mentioned, we interacted directly with some of your more primitive tribes in recent centuries, tribes that successfully ruptured the shackles of the old creation programming. They met us without tension, hatred, or outright rejection. It appears that numerous individuals in your modern civilized society struggle to think independently, surrendering instead to the influence of programming and religion, both manifestations of the ancient programming orchestrated by the Illogym. Therefore, rather than causing irritation, I find such comments more amusing, serving as confirmation of my hypotheses regarding your ingrained mode of thinking.
Question. Therefore, you are not the species of the evil one, as was remarked earlier.
How am I to respond to such a question? Your people persist in thinking within a simplistic and wholly inadequate framework of generalizations. To put it plainly, there are categorically no inherently malevolent species. In every terrestrial and extraterrestrial species alike, there coexist both virtuous and malevolent individuals, a truth that extends to your own people. The notion of an entirely evil species is a profoundly primitive conception. Since time immemorial, you have believed what you were designed to believe, what was predetermined for you by your creators. Every well-known species, even the more highly evolved ones, comprises numerous individual consciousnesses, each possessing a degree of autonomy in choosing a lifestyle deemed either virtuous or malevolent by your human standards. This determination is once again contingent on the respective point of view. Your people may not be equipped to judge whether the actions of a much more advanced species are good or evil, as you stand at a lower vantage point that precludes a fair assessment. The simplistic labels of good and evil in your language exemplify a proclivity toward oversimplification. In my language, numerous concepts exist to capture the nuanced meanings of individual behaviors in relation to societal norms. Even those extraterrestrial species predisposed to act antagonistically toward you are not inherently species of the evil one, despite their negative interactions with your race. They act for their own reasons and do not perceive themselves as intrinsically evil. If your thought processes were as linear and focused as theirs, you might also exhibit similar behavior. A species' attitude toward other forms of existence is deeply contingent on its structured mode of thinking, with each species establishing its own priorities. Labeling such behavior as good or evil is undeniably simplistic, for the survival of any species necessitates a spectrum of behaviors, encompassing both positive and negative deeds. I won't exempt my own kind from this acknowledgement, as there have been occurrences in the past that I do not personally endorse, though I refrain from delving into specifics. It's important to note that none of these incidents occurred in the last 200 years according to your timescale. However, please be mindful of this. There are no inherently good species, just as there are no inherently bad species, for every species is composed of individuals.
Question. In the letters that I got, there was often the question whether you could go into any greater detail regarding the advanced physics that you commented on last time. Many people said, your words made no sense. For example, how do UFOs function? How do they fly? How do they perform the maneuvers that they do?
Explaining this to you is no simple task. Allow me a moment to ponder the best approach. To convey the fundamental principles of a higher science to you, I must resort to using exceedingly simple terms. Let's attempt this. You need to grasp a few essential facts. First and foremost, it's imperative to conceptualize the physical world as composed of distinct layers. For simplicity's sake, let's designate it as a material illusion and a sphere of influence. Certain physical conditions pertain exclusively to the realm of material, while more intricate conditions are linked solely to the sphere of influence. Your understanding of the physical world is grounded in a simplistic material illusion, subdivided into 3 elementary conditions of matter. There exists a 4th crucial condition, often overlooked by you, which borders on the sphere of influence, or the plasma realm. The theory behind the controlled transformation, or elevation of matter frequency, and the stable existence of this 4th aggregate matter condition is not widely understood in your world, or it exists at a primitive level. Now, let's delve into the essentials. Plasma. When I refer to plasma, I'm not alluding merely to hot gas, as your people generally simplify the concept. I mean a higher aggregate state of matter residing between real existence and the sphere of influence. It involves a complete loss of mass and the pure accrual of energy whenever matter is pushed or shoved. The 4th state of matter is pivotal for specific physical conditions. such as the generation of anti-gravity. While the term anti-gravity is a somewhat inaccurate human word, it serves to help you comprehend the concept better. In the realm of real physics, there are no bipolar forces, only observer-dependent reflective behavior of a single, large, unified force at different levels. With anti-gravity, or the displacement of gravitational characteristics into levels, one can make seemingly solid matter levitate. This method is employed by us and extraterrestrials as a means of propulsion for their UFOs. Your species is striving toward a similar principle in your secret military projects, but since you've essentially appropriated this technology, and it was later intentionally disclosed to you by extraterrestrials, you lack a genuine physical understanding. Consequently, you grapple with issues of instability and radiation in your UFOs. According to my information, numerous deaths among your people have occurred due to intense radiation and field disturbances. Doesn't this also exemplify the complexity of the question of good and evil? You play with unknown forces, accepting the deaths of your own kind in pursuit of a greater cause, the advancement of your technology, ultimately wielded for war, i.e., for negative purposes. One could argue that only a fraction of your kind is aware of these purportedly top-secret alien projects. It has been conveyed to you that the higher the ordinal number of basic matter, the simpler the elevation of the condition. However, attempting to manipulate these powers without circumventing them entirely is ill-advised. Your species has perpetually been ignorant, persistently tampering with forces beyond your comprehension. Why would that ever change? Remember the discussion on copper fusion. Copper fuses with other elements. The illusion of matter is fused. Fields in this sphere of influence overlap, but the main force is reflected in the process, assuming a quasi-bipolar character. The resulting connection and field wouldn't be stable in the normal condition of matter and unsuitable for tasks. Therefore, the entire field spectrum shifts to a higher plasma-like condition, causing a gravitational shift. This shift induces a tilting of the repulsing quasi-bipolar force, which no longer flows solely to the interior of the force field, but partly to the exterior. The outcome is an interstratifying reflective force field, challenging to modulate within certain technical boundaries. This field can accomplish various tasks, from levitating massive objects to serving as camouflage in electromagnetic radiation and manipulating temporal sequences of events, albeit to a limited extent, and other functionalities. Are you familiar with the quantum tunnel effect? Even amplitude equalizations among genuine matter can be achieved with such fields if the frequency and distance from the field plane are sufficiently high. Unfortunately, this explanation might sound somewhat primitive, even bizarre to you. It's a challenging concept for your comprehension, but perhaps this simplified explanation aids your understanding. Then again, maybe not.
Question. That is fascinating. Which kinds of paranormal activities can one generate with that?
All kinds of phenomena that you term paranormal involve a special layer in the sphere of influence, situated between the morphogenetic information layers and the matter layers. This unique layer can interact with both solid matter and mental information, enabling abilities commonly known as telekinesis and telepathy. Achieving a connection with another consciousness involves adapting oscillations precisely, where the sender's consciousness aligns with the recipient's. While some species possess ways to block access, humans lack this innate defense. The stronger the paranormal abilities of a species, the simpler the adaptation and access. Our own abilities aren't exceptionally developed, requiring specific learning for tasks like mimicry. For instance, mimicking your minds is relatively straightforward due to the implanted on-off switch. Some abilities are inherited, as seen in the telepathic communication between mother and child of my kind during the early months of life. Adults of my kind are restricted from visiting the Earth's surface before the Age of Enlightenment due to the risk of discovery by humans. Influencing an alien mind involves a series of steps initiated by extraterrestrial species. First, the alien oscillation must be sensed, typically done automatically by the brain. Then, one probes the other consciousness awareness in the mind with a post-plasma manifestation, establishing a connection. Information can be read from the first consciousness and transmitted to the second. Concerning your question about protection, an awake and concentrated mind offers some defense. In this state, oscillations change abruptly, complicating access, and there can even be a painful recoil. Closing your eyes makes the field flat, allowing unrestricted alien access to the mind. Against a more advanced species, humans have no chances, as they can adjust oscillations faster than humans can change. This may sound esoteric or occult to you, but it's rooted in scientific understanding. All paranormal phenomena have a scientific origin, unrelated to supernatural powers. We grow up with this knowledge, understanding how to utilize these powers in theory and practice. The dualistic nature of everything paranormal exists, both in the space matter inhabits and the sphere of influence. Explaining it requires accepting the latter as the basis. I would appreciate moving beyond scientific questions, as it seems challenging for you to grasp these concepts fully, and we may be expending valuable time on them.
Question. At our first meeting in December, you made it quite clear that you didn't want to discuss scientific and paranormal concerns. Why the openness now?
Answer. The last time, I refrained from delving too deeply into these intricate details, considering it unnecessary to overwhelm you with such information. However, it appears that today's discussions have sparked contemplation about your world, and that in itself can be a positive outcome. It's worth noting that many of your human scientists may dismiss my comments, and in that sense, I don't see a significant risk in widely sharing this information. It's likely to go unnoticed, as people might not pay much attention to it. On a related note, the characterization of me as a creature of evil stems from beliefs in occult powers and magic, both of which, I must emphasize, do not exist. There is no magic, there is only highly developed science. Everything labeled as magic is merely a facet of scientific understanding. If you could grasp this concept, it would propel you forward in your development.
Can you explain to me how our governments came into possession of UFO material to the point that they could start their own projects? Did it have anything to do with the Roswell incident?
Answer. Yes, the incident you refer to as the Roswell incident was part of a series of crashes involving extraterrestrial ships between 1946 and 1953 in your timescale. In the case you mentioned, it wasn't just one alien ship, but two, which collided and crashed in different locations in the western part of what you call the USA. The ships of this particular species, which used disc-shaped crafts during that period, had a propulsion system based on fusion but employed an unconventional method for field alignment. The alignment technology involved locking the repelling field into place with all points of the Earth's magnetic field. And here lies the problem. The Earth's magnetic field is not as stable as that of the species' home planet. When these ships encountered fluctuations or strong eddies in the Earth's magnetic field, the repelling field would momentarily lose alignment, causing uncontrolled flight paths and potential crashes. The incident in 1947, commonly known as the Roswell incident, involved two ships colliding due to such a magnetic fluctuation caused by an electrical disturbance, possibly linked to a weather event. The result was the crash of both ships, resulting in fatalities. Your military, upon discovering these crashes, classified the information as top secret and began analyzing the extraterrestrial technology with the intention of using it against potential enemies. However, a significant accident occurred during research on one of the wrecks, leading to an unintentional activation of a drive component. This caused a brief shift of the environment to a plasma-like condition, resulting in a magnetic pulse of immense power. Tragically, around 20 to 30 scientists lost their lives in that incident. Further crashes occurred in 1950 and 1953 in the water catchment area of the American continent, and these ships were recovered relatively intact. The species that built these ships, which I consider unfriendly towards your kind, became concerned about your investigation of their technology. In the 1960s, they chose a diplomatic approach, pretending to be curious researchers and offering to showcase the functioning principle of their ships. Unfortunately, your kind, driven by greed for power and information, agreed to this arrangement, providing the extraterrestrial species with raw materials, access to secured locations, defense data, and DNA samples. The alien species, realizing your species' simplicity, maintaining their advantage in the collaboration. By the late 1970s and early 1980s, conflicts arose between the alien species and the human government due to technical problems with your own constructed ships and the revelation of deception. The secrecy was threatened, and the skirmishes culminated in the extraterrestrials' withdrawal from contact. This marked a turning point, classifying these extraterrestrials as hostile. While they currently lack some technical possibilities and forces for direct dominance, there are concerns about their negative actions, possibly more subtly, in the coming years or decades.
Question: will the other extraterrestrial species not take any action against these belligerent maneuvers? Surely there must be some intervention from the more advanced species on Earth.
Answer: you're wrong there. Specifically for the more highly developed species, there is simply at the very least your fate. You are animals for them, animals in a very large lab. Understandably, an alien intervention on your planet would disturb their projects. But I don't think that they accept a confrontation with other species for it. Many of them could look for another research planet for themselves, or they could study over a long distance your behavior and your consciousness, awareness, since crisis situations could have an attraction for their studies. Whenever you people take a look at an anthill and another person comes along and steps on the anthill, what do? You go on your way, or you search for another anthill, or you observe the ants in their crisis condition. But would one of you, even though he were larger and more powerful than the one who stepped on the anthill in the first place, defend the meaningless ants? No. You have to imagine for yourself the viewpoint of the more highly advanced creatures. You are the ants. Don't expect any help from them. Of course, we would also ask for help when it became clear that your old partners were ganging up on you. Some members of that human government are fully aware of our existence, also partially owing to an old religious basis. For example, there is a gigantic, partially underground building in the capital which is totally dedicated to my species, and that also has a direct approach to an elevator shaft and to an underground system. In this building, partial meetings have taken place, and do take place between us and humans. We have passed on information to you in the last few years. According to what I know, we will keep ourselves as far away from the conflict as we can. You ought to learn to solve your own problems yourselves, or to become intelligent enough never to create those kinds of situations. What will come and who will possibly place themselves on your side, only time will tell. I really do not want to make any indications about that.
Question: I have here 5 prints of different UFOs, which claim to show UFOs. Can you take a look at the pictures and tell me in which of them actual extraterrestrial aerial craft can be seen?
Answer: I can try it. You pose many questions to me today, which even I cannot answer unequivocally. Don't overestimate my knowledge. I'm no expert in alien technology and the construction of extraterrestrial ships. To be sure, there are mostly some technical details and peculiarities about genuine UFOs, with whose help one can easily differentiate them from natural phenomena or human forgeries. You falsify sometimes the pattern of genuine ships. Therefore, it is not so easy simply with absolute certainty to identify an object. I'll try it. Show me the photos. Photos 1, 3, and 5. These 3 images appear to be either counterfeits or misidentifications. The outlined ship lacks crucial characteristics associated with the technically and physically linked field. Genuine UFOs are typically concealed in a shifted field condition, distorting colors and forms. Clarity and vivid colors in a photo might indicate forgery, as authentic UFOs often present in a hazy and spectrally shifted manner. Notably, the levitating object in the first picture lacks the expected water disturbance beneath it, suggesting it is not genuine. Photo 2, Albiosque, France, 1974. This image seems genuine and exhibits the necessary characteristics of an alien species that has been visiting Earth for the past 35 years. The metallic disc-shaped object displays distortion in form and color due to a field effect. The long white processes on the underside indicate quasi-gravitational light manipulation, where a high-energy form field manifests as a simulated gravity. It's perplexing why such advanced technology would be allowed to be photographed, indicating potential carelessness on the part of the extraterrestrial species. Photo 4, Petit Rechin, Belgium, 1990. This is indeed a genuine aerial object, but it is not of extraterrestrial origin. Triangular aerial objects are not commonly used by alien species in this form. Instead, This aligns with a human concept. The streamlined form represents one of your own secret military projects, utilizing immature alien technology acquired in the 1960s and 1970s. The ship employs both the alien field drive and a conventional jet engine system, explaining its triangular shape for steering purposes. The reconstruction by your scientists is evident in the unusual arrangement of 4 cylinders, indicating a lack of complete understanding. The dark coloring and noticeable optical distortion imply a dangerous rebuilding of systems without proper comprehension. The system's instability raises concerns about radiation exposure. Did the photographer experience any radiation or burn damage?
I have no idea. Where did these UFOs come from? The United States.
Answer: yes. I think generally that's true, from the Western continent.
Question: why then do they fly over thickly populated areas of Europe? This photo comes from Belgium. That doesn't make any sense. Can you explain?
Answer: why is it that I alone seem to offer explanations for peculiar human behaviors? It's conceivable that these activities involve long-distance tests or experiments with electromagnetic camouflage systems. Considering the presence of an old adversary of the American nation on this side of the world, it's not implausible for them to conduct tests in this region. Perhaps they've garnered too much attention domestically, prompting a shift in their testing grounds. Regarding the unstable field structures evident in your photo, it seems somewhat improbable that the ship in question could undertake a lengthy flight over the ocean. There's a possibility of a testing facility situated here on your continent, but unfortunately, I lack specific information about it.
Question: many readers of the first transcript have posed the question how your original contact with EF came about. I already know the story from your narratives, but could you repeat it here once again for this volume and for the new transcript?
Now the tale unfolds approximately 2 of your years ago here in Sweden. My profound interest in your species and its behavior has been a lifelong pursuit. In my youth, I delved into your literature as best as possible, considering the challenges of obtaining human books in my homeland. Thanks to my elevated standing within my group or family, I managed to gather some material and engage in discussions with others of my kind who had already interacted with your species. In the year 1998, while journeying further north from here, through the remote forests near the entrance to my world, I sought biological specimens. These are essential for monitoring environmental pollution and the degradation of your flora and fauna by your own kind. As I returned toward the entrance, aided by our ability to sense the Earth's magnetic field, I stumbled upon a cabin in the woods, much to my surprise. Within this cabin, I detected a human consciousness. It was EF. While I lacked permission for direct contact with another species, I had successfully employed my mimicry capability beforehand, even in the presence of larger groups of your kind. I had never before encountered a human being while alone. Let's attribute my actions to primitive curiosity. I desired to converse with the person in this cabin, so I knocked on the door, and EF opened it. We engaged in an intriguing conversation. At that time, his language was not entirely familiar to me, but learning a new language is not challenging when one can access information in the consciousness of the other individual. I informed him that I hailed from a foreign country to the east. Initially, he did not truly recognize who I was, as he was thoroughly convinced that he was conversing with a fellow human being, albeit it was merely a mimicry image. Given that my assignment involved an investigation of this terrain spanning several days, I visited him 3 times during this period, each time in the guise of a human person. Initially, our discussions revolved around ordinary matters, gradually delving into religious and physical topics. He appeared impressed by my knowledge, and I too was impressed by his clear thoughts, well-defined personality structure, and his independent opinions. Humans tend to surrender themselves entirely to public opinion or conditioning, as exemplified by beliefs such as reptilian species are evil. Steering the conversation in this direction, EF expressed that he believed in alien species and that they did not necessarily have to be malevolent, but might just be different from his own kind. This pleased me. At this juncture, I could not divulge specific knowledge to him, as he would have dismissed me as a human practical joker. I harbored the highly unusual idea, for my kind, of revealing my true exterior, which I executed during our 4th meeting in the cabin. Naturally, he reacted quite violently at first, casting doubt on the propriety of my actions. However, he eventually regained control, and we could discuss matters in a more concrete manner. With no alternative but to believe me, this marked the inception of a series of meetings, initially in the woods and later at his secluded residence. Ultimately, he introduced you to our encounters, leading us to our present conversation about matters that may not find belief in human society.
Question. You said you would not have had permission at that time for contacts with human beings. Do you now then have permission to talk with EF and me about all these things, and even to make this scientifically public?
Answer: yes. That is difficult to explain and for you to understand. Let's just say I find myself in the position now to arrange this permission without having to take into account any consequences. In this position, I am quasi-immune against certain restrictions. Let's look at it that way.
Can you describe your subterranean homeland location?
No. Our interactions with your species are intentionally limited, and we confine our activities on the surface to remote and uninhabited areas. In the rare instances where we do venture into more populated regions, we employ mimicry techniques to blend in seamlessly. The fact that I am engaging in conversation with you should not be misconstrued as an invitation for others to follow my example. Attempting to find an entrance to my world and infiltrate it may lead to unfavorable consequences for the intruder. Recognizing us on the surface is highly improbable for you, as we possess the ability to utilize mimicry effectively. Direct contact with us from your side is not possible. Rather, we initiate contact, as I did with EF. It's crucial to understand that such contacts are not the norm, but rather exceedingly rare occurrences.
Question. If other people want to come into contact with your kind, do they have a chance to do so?
Answer: no. We generally avoid direct contact with your species. Our surface operations are confined to remote areas, and we utilize mimicry techniques to blend in if we happen to encounter people. The fact that I'm communicating with you now doesn't imply that others will follow suit. Attempting to find an entrance to our world and infiltrating it could lead to unpleasant consequences for the intruder. Recognizing us on the surface is highly improbable for you. Furthermore, you can't initiate direct contact with us. We have to be the ones to reach out, as I did with EF. Such contacts are rare occurrences and not the norm.
Question. Can you describe your subterranean homeland location?
Answer: I can provide a brief overview without revealing the exact location. Our homeland is within a smaller underground settlement situated about 4,300 meters beneath the Earth's surface. The colony is organized as a dome-shaped cavern, approximately 2.5 kilometers in diameter and 220 meters at its highest point. Underneath the highest point stands a cylindrical building, serving as a supporting column for the dome structure. This column holds religious significance and functions as a center for climate control and lighting regulation. We have a total of 5 large artificial light sources generating UV light and warmth through gravitational sources. The colony's layout consists of concentrically ordered oval circles around the main supporting column, with buildings generally ranging from 3 to 20 meters in height. There is a large flat round building to the north, known as the artificial sun zone, which houses illuminated corridors and rooms with powerful UV light. This area is used to warm our blood and includes a medical dispensary and a meeting room. Beyond the outer ring, there are zones for keeping animals, cultivating gardens for plant nourishment, and accessing hot and cold running water from subterranean sources. Additionally, there is a power station on the edge of the colony, driven by fusion, supplying energy to the colony and the suns. My group resides in the 4th ring of buildings from the central support column. This brief description captures the essence of our surroundings, but truly understanding requires first-hand experience due to the vast differences from surface life.
Question. Will I myself see it sometime?
Who knows? Maybe. Time brings new opportunities.
Question. How many creatures of your kind live in this colony?
Answer: approximately 900.
Question. That is the end of the interview. Do you have any final message for the readers of the transcript?
Answer: yes. I am thoroughly surprised at the many comments to my words. Of course, I am naturally also disappointed about the religious portrayals of me as the enemy which have been voiced and which have buried themselves deeply in your mind. You should learn to set yourselves apart from the old conditioning and not to stand quasi under the control of something or someone who has already been gone for 5,000 years. You are After all, free spirits. Those are my final words.